As a university professor, he hides a huge secret. He is actually a werewolf with a 1,000-year history. Six the tree Cedric POV. Nice morning, eh? Savannah asks over her shoulder, lifting a dark eyebrow at me with a coy look on her face. I shrug. There are other things on my mind than how the morning is, but I don't tell her that. We're walking through the woods. I'm not sure what time exactly, but early enough to where there are hardly any humans around. Not that there are many of them trapping around in the forest in the first place. For that I'm at least grateful. We couldn't have picked a better time. The reason why we're here still annoys me. I don't know why I let my beta drag me along. A ridiculous amount of camera tech hangs in a duffel bag settled in Savannah's arms. It's preposterous, but my second-in-command has proposed the idea to set up monitors in the woods to scope the surrounding area for rogues. I'm still against technology as a whole, but Savannah insists that I am to set in my ways. I don't fight with her. I let her lecture me and get it out of her system. But when she steps over the line, I have to put her in her place. Like when she called me a prude old man earlier this morning. I didn't like hearing that. This is perfect, she tells me, climbing another tree to put yet another spy camera in the branches. Savannah makes short work of it. She's the one who knows things about technology and knows how to work it. I still don't understand why we need it. I've done things the same way for years. So why change if it works? If it's broke, don't fix it. Unfortunately, I agreed to this since she insisted it will help us catch 𝐊𝐿𝐬 and the Red Alpha. If it aids our mission, and I don't have to deal with it, then I'm fine with it. As long as I don't have to be involved in any of it. Savannah does her own thing sometimes, and I try to accept that. I can only hope this will shorten the mission that much more. And then there's the nagging in the back of my head that won't go away. Something feels off today. I don't know what it is. I haven't experienced a sensation like it before, but I brush it off. Lots of things I've been dealing with recently are different than what I'm used to. It's been a few days since 𝐼𝐸 started teaching at the university. Some might say it's going well, because from the outside it looks like everything's fine. I'm coping, I'm moving on through without complaint, but on the inside, I'm struggling. The humans are almost too much to take, and I have another class in a few hours. When my beta finally gets down from the tree, she looks me up and down with narrowed eyes, putting a hand on her hip. You are right. Noticing my mood. But it's not convincing, even to my own ears. In reality, I feel as if I've been stuck under a microscope to be experimented on. My skin crawls. I ignore it. Savannah has the strangest look on her face that I haven't seen before. She looks wary and apprehensive, and now that I think about it, she has been acting a bit odd this morning. And when she got home last night from wherever she was, she's usually more talkative than this. More outright and abrasive. Today she's nearly silent. I can't tell if it's just paranoia. Maybe I'm just trying to push what I'm feeling on her. As if I'm looking for someone to blame for the strange things I'm feeling. This whole mission could be a mistake. It's not a new thought. There have been many times during this process where I've felt like I have been misplaced for the job. Times where I'm positive that someone else would have done a much better job than me. But then there's always something that draws me to it. Like someone behind the curtain telling me to keep going and reminding me of my lines. Who knows? Maybe it's 𝐊𝐿𝐬 wanting me to avenge him from beyond the grave. Whatever it is, I don't question it. I follow my instincts, even when I really don't want to. They've gotten me this far. As I said before, if I know that something works, I don't see the point in trying an alternative way. As Savannah finishes up with the cameras, we're both silent in the otherwise busy forest. The birds are awake now, fluttering around in the high branches and singing their wake-up call to anyone who can hear it. I can't help but feel guilty now. I should be doing more, patrolling as often as I can. My job here is to find a villain who has tormented my kind for too long. But I'm distracted and emotional, though you do never hear me admit it or show it. I've felt far too many emotions in the past few days than I've felt in a long time. Glancing around the woods, I suddenly miss Montana. I miss my pack and my alone time in solitude. Every day of this mission is like walking on shards of glass. I have to watch my every move. I can't be uninhibited. Be myself. I have to wear contacts for goddess's sake. I can't let the humans see my red eyes. Could I? Not that the contacts even completely cover my natural eye color, but no one will get close enough to know the difference. And that's something I can count on. As we wrap up our morning jaunt, I mentally prepare myself for the day of tiptoeing around humans. I can't help but wait patiently for this whole thing to be over with so my life can go back to the way it was. 𝐊𝐢𝐬𝐩𝐿 𝐷𝐞𝐝𝐬. When I look over to see that my alarm clock reads 803, my stomach does a few somersault tests reminding me of my stupid mistake. I have a class at 830, literature history, despite the fact that I'm still deathly tired. I jump out of bed with such ferocity that the duvet entangles itself around my ankles and sends me sprawling to the floor. I land on the carpet with a dull thud and a moan of pain. I need to get up. I need to get to class. Getting ready in a hurry. I literally throw on whatever's on the floor. A green dress. One of my favorites. I don't really question it. I just pull it over my head as I grab my backpack and push it up and onto my shoulder. I run into the hallway so quickly, I nearly slip and hit my head on the doorway. Landing in the bathroom, I stare at my disheveled appearance looking back at me in the mirror with wide eyes. My hair is a rat's nest on the top of my head. I fuss over it a little, pulling the scrunchie free and letting my curls fall around my face. I smooth my locks out quickly. They're still crazy, outlandish, and messy, but I'll take what I can get at this point. I glance at my little flip phone in my hand and nearly puke. I need to leave now. Time is moving faster than I am. Maybe staying up until 4:30 am watching a movie with my friends was such a good idea after all. I should have thought it through more. Curse my stupidness. Good luck. Stacy calls from the couch as I scamper down the hallway with my shoes in hand. I don't respond. I don't even look. There's no time for looking. Not when my class starts in less than 15 minutes. And I have a whole bike ride ahead of me. Not to mention the crippling anxiety that has a hold of me. It's so weird. I chalk it up to being late. Yeah, that's it. That's why I'm so antsy and unsettled. I'm late. Unlocking my bike as I slip my shoes on as a huddle. Somehow I get through it. And head to my destination. I don't bother trying to listen to music. I just need to get to class. My bag almost falls off my shoulders several times as I pedal like there's no tomorrow. Shouts are called around me a few times as I rush past people. My daredevil maneuvers are bound to make me crash. But luckily I don't. Somehow the bicycle gods are looking out for me. I don't dare check the clock when I finally rush into the classroom, tripping over my own shoelaces that have yet to be tied. My shoes are falling off when I collapse in my seat and let out an enormous yawn sigh that's louder than I thought it would be. The classroom is fairly large, but not like an auditorium or anything. Despite my lateness, I'm 1 minute early by some kind of luck. I found a seat somewhere in the middle of the class, glancing around at my classmates and hoping no one notices my disheveled state. Not that it matters. This is college. No one cares. At least not about anyone else but themselves. Everyone is just trying to get through. There's no time to look and judge. There are a few people here, chatting a bit before we have our actual lecture. It's not a very large class at all. And for that I'm thankful. I can't imagine walking in when a whole crowd of people are watching on the sidelines. Our college campus is historical, so all the wood for the desks is old and handcrafted. I admire the color of it under my fingers. My skin pale in comparison, both in color and beauty. Not that I'm actually very pale at all. I've always been quite tan. I sit for a while before I pull a notebook out of my bag. And a blue pen too. I doodle a little bit, trying to pass the time a little before the lesson begins. Our sub must be late today too. The day I'm late and in a hurry happens to be the day that the teacher is too. The little pictures I scribble calm my ever-present nerves. What is up with me today? I got here. Everything's fine. Why am I still so anxious? A hand clamps down on my shoulder and I gasp, jumping in my chair and almost out of my skin. I turn warily to see a cute boy sitting next to me. 𝐿𝐷𝐿𝐬 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐬𝐑𝐞𝐝𝐬. I didn't mean to scare you. Dylan holds up his hands to show he means no harm, but in not really convinced. I slump down in relief as he has the audacity to chuckle at me. Well, you did. I reprimand him, and he displays his adorable lopsided grin that makes girls around campus faint. Not me. 𝐿𝐷𝐿𝐬 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐬𝐑𝐞𝐝𝐬. Dylan and I are only friends, and no more. This is the only class we have together, and he is the only friend I have in any of my classes. So it all works out well. He happens to be the guitarist in a band that Ivy joined. She is fun to be around, but he hangs out with a completely different crowd than me, for the most part. Let's just say he is a player on and off the football field. Did you hear about the new teach? Sliding down into his seat to my left, dropping his feet on top of the desk with a thud. I roll my eyes. He acts like he owns the place. Dylan never brings anything to class with him, never takes notes or pays much attention at that. Somehow, I'm not sure how, he passes the class easily. His grades on the midterms astounded me. I look back down at my doodle, resting my chin on my right hand in boredom. I drew a giraffe, albeit not a very good one. I'm not exactly an artist. Nope, I reply, shaking my head. It doesn't really matter though. They never last. Peeking up at Dylan, I can see he is thoroughly amused when he looks down at me amateur drawing. I squirm in discomfort. Something about that look he gives me has me uncomfortable, like his eyes can see under my skin. Anyway, not this time. They got a real professor, not some substitute. This guy is permanent. Can you believe that? I raise my eyebrows, silently telling him to go on, leaning closer to me until I smell his cologne. He is supposed to be this super scary dude. Is like a giant, completely ripped. And he is scars. Terrifying. Right. The guy's already a legend. I can't believe you haven't heard about him yet. He showed up a few days ago. Everyone is freaked out at the freak. I blush and quickly look away. I know why I haven't heard about him. Because I rarely socialize. Even when dragged to countless parties and events by my outgoing best friends. Something in me has always told me I don't belong among them. Like you're meant for something else. How hipster can I be? I sound like a lunatic. 𝐿𝐷𝐿𝐬 heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience and enthusiasm. I was wondering if you're going to the game tomorrow. Dylan knows very well that I do not go to college football games. I wish I had time, but I don't. I roll my eyes at him. Of course I'm not going. I have homework. Studying. At a job, mister. Full ride, scholarship. His eyes widen in curiosity and I smile. In core. I can't to football games. Oh yeah, but you somehow end up at countless parties. I snort not so ladylike laugh out, and try to cover it up. Yeah. Only because Miranda and Stacy force me to. If I had any say, he'd be at home working my butt off. I nudge him with my elbow and he presses his lips together. I know well enough that Dylan isn't the biggest fan of my friends. And they don't like him all that much either. They're picky about who I hang around with. But they're just being protective. I might, just maybe, have a small case of daddy issues. It's common for a girl to have problems when their father abandons them, so Ivy had to accept it. I think that's why my friends have basically built a fortress around me to get men to back off. They don't want me to be taken advantage of. But that's just it. I don't want a man. I don't need a man. Welcome to literature history. The gruff, deep voice sends an electric jolt through me. The shockwaves evaporate all of my thoughts. I hadn't noticed before that the whole class has gone silent. But in noticing it now, My head snaps up in pure confusion, my eyes seeking the speaker out at the front of the room like my life somehow depends on it. I have to see him. I need to know who he is. I can barely breathe when my gaze latches onto the professor. He is jaw-droppingly gorgeous in a rugged, terrifying way. He lifts one of the white boards up, revealing something written out on the one behind it. But I don't even notice it. I'm too busy arguing him. What was I thinking about before I saw him? I don't honestly know. I can't remember. It feels like everything before this moment is useless. His hair is dark as night, messy and a bit wavy. His lips are full, but not big, and his nose is strong and has a small bump in the bridge. 𝐊𝐲𝐻 handsome. All I could focus on is him. As he turns, I see them. The ones Dylan was talking about. Angry, red vertical lines run down the left side of his face. They go through his eyebrow, but there is no hair missing from the thick brows. They also cross over his eye, but I can't see any damage to his actual eyeball. You would think the nasty scars would deter me in some way, make him seem scary or hideous even. But they drew me towards him more. They make him unique. What am I saying? In such a creep. My name's Professor 𝐊𝐲𝐬. I will be your teacher for this course. Today's objective will be a simple one. We will review the past few weeks and go over what you've learned thus far, and what will be expected of you from now on, he says in his dark timbre, not even looking up at the class while he speaks with a tone of command. I'm entranced by him, like 𝐊𝐲𝐻 put me under a spell or something. His broad shoulders and how they move against his button-up shirt as he stands in front of his desk, leaning back on it in a relaxed way, though he doesn't seem relaxed. Somehow, I know 𝐊𝐲𝐻 anything but relaxed. It looks like every muscle in his body is stiff, and his voice sounds strained. My instincts tells me 𝐊𝐲𝐻 uncomfortable, that he doesn't want to be here at all. I don't know how I know this, but it's the strangest feeling in the world. I can't tear my gaze from him. It's as if he is all I can see, and if I look away my world will end, that he'll be drifting in oblivion for the rest of time. What is happening to me? Seconds go by before I notice a drastic change in Professor 𝐊𝐲𝐬. His nostrils flare, his jaw hardening, eyes widening as his eyebrows seem to reach for each other in fury. 𝐊𝐲𝐻 standing so straight now. I notice now how gigantic he really is. I watch in wonder as his large hands grip the edge of the desk before his face snaps up to the crowd of students in a whirl. His dark eyes rake everywhere, until they finally come to settle on me. They immediately stop. He freezes, and his face softens slightly. Professor 𝐊𝐲𝐬's lips part. My world tilts quite literally. All I can see, all I can focus on. 𝐊𝐲𝐬𝐬 𝐊𝐢𝐬𝐬. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. And I mean for real this time. Everything disappears as if it's only the two of us. I continue to stare at him in amazement. The world around me is practically black. My chest has gone up in flames, and I'm aware of how calm my body is. Everything is just right now. I can't explain it any other way. Is this what love at first sight is like? He continues to stare at me in what seems to be pure amazement. The class is silent around me as I touch back to earth slowly. I don't really know what to do. The whole entire class seems just as frozen as I am, as if they are holding their breath and waiting for something to happen. All I can do is look straight back at him. His eyes are like beams as they scorch into my own. My whole body is warm and comfortable. It's as if this wave of peace has come over me. I'm safe. I'm all right. What the heck is happening here? Am I going nuts? I'm the first one to look away, glancing at my hands nervously in my lap. 𝐊𝐲𝐬𝐬 𝐊𝐢𝐬𝐬. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. What is wrong with me? The guy probably thinks I'm a freak. You know, just some teenage girl staring at her hot professor like a stalker. This is so awkward. The silence continues to span out, and I can feel that 𝐊𝐲𝐻 is still gazing at me. Someone clears their throat before asking if 𝐊𝐲𝐻 is okay. I have a brief pang of jealousy at someone other than me talking to him. I don't even know him. "You'll need counseling or something after all of this is over." The response they get is a gruff sound and a short yeah. Before too long he starts up talking again. As I was saying before, I have a higher standard than most teachers, and you will all be held to that standard. I have updated the syllabus online, so be sure to look it over before returning for your next class. His voice is more stern now. Red hot tears suddenly burn my eyes, and my cheeks flush with color. I don't understand why I'm acting the way I am, but overwhelming sadness and embarrassment flood my senses, and I choke back a sob. Continuing to stare at my hands, I beg my tears not to fall, but fall they do. Immediately, I stand up, grabbing my things in a hurry. I shove everything into my backpack, zipping it and slinging it over my shoulder before making my way quickly down the aisle. As soon as I reach the stairs, I take them two at a time, not daring to look up for a second. If I see my professor, he'll probably be frozen to the spot again. I push the heavy doors open loudly, rushing down the hall. Less than 5 minutes ago, I was moving at the same pace towards the class in an effort not to be late. Not I just want to get away. I need to get away. My mind is still reeling from what just happened. When I get to my bike, I lean my head against the handlebars as I try to catch my breath. I still have no idea what just happened. It's the first embarrassing thing to happen to me in college, and it's only 3 months in. My eyes squeeze shut tighter at the reminder of what I've done. Now I have to face him twice a week remembering the incident. His presence will just be a reminder of how I made a fool of myself. I groan as I realize running most likely made it worse. He probably felt me staring and stare back to get me to take a hint. And all I did was keep on staring like an idiot. And then when he looks away, I run out of the room crying like a baby. I'm so embarrassed. I might just die. Professor Riley looks like is in his mid-30s and I'm 18. How creepy can I be? He probably cringed at the sight of me. Not to mention that I'm a hot mess right now. I wonder what he thought when he saw me. Did he think that I'm pretty? Was he as affected by the sight of me? I shake my head, trying to decide what. Maybe he wasn't even looking at me. That's plausible. Right. Glancing back at the building, somehow I know that things are going to change. 8 despair. Hendrix POV. I'm gasping for air when I enter the apartment in a clumsy hurry. I slam the thick door closed with purpose, taking out my frantic emotions on it. I brace myself against it for a few minutes while I catch my breath and attempt to gather my bearings. The apartment is empty, and I couldn't be more thankful for it. Miranda and Stacy are both in school at the moment. Neither of them will be home until the afternoon. I have plenty of time to hide away and wallow in my strange new discovered emotions. Every single time I close my eyes, I see him. Professor Riley. Those scars. That face. I just want to kiss him. I want him so bad. Too bad. I bite my lip hard when I reach my room, sitting down at the edge of the mattress. I stare at my record player with suddenly tear-filled eyes. Riding my bicycle home. I didn't cry once, but now the sorrow is back. My turntable sits on my desk, taking up the whole surface with my speakers, stereo, and receiver. My set, up for listening to some dusty old records, is ridiculous according to anyone who sees it and doesn't truly know me for who I am. Maybe it is ridiculous and I'm just in denial. My best friends know what it means to me though, so they don't tease me the way other people do. I don't even have room to do homework on the desktop. All of my schoolwork is accomplished on the floor or in bed, but I don't mind. I can't stop myself from thinking about him despite my attempt at distraction. Of course I have kissed boys. Passionately, I might add. I've gone on dates, had boyfriends, but never have I felt more drawn to a person than I am to him. And we haven't even spoken to each other. How silly is that? My next class isn't until tomorrow. Thankfully, but I have to be at work by 4:30 for the dinner rush. I dread it. How can I concentrate on my job when all I can think about is my smoking hot professor? That could be an issue. Slipping a record free of its sleeve. I flicker on my turntable and play some music, closing my eyes shut tight. I let the words and melody run over me like warm water from above. locking my bedroom door before sinking down onto my bed. I feel like a little kid again as I tunnel under the covers like it's a secret fort. My eyes bat shut. The music on the record player continues to crackle and pop through the speakers and into my dim room. Now this is what puts me at ease. Ruby red. Jagged scars wound their way into my mind and my breath catches in my lungs, trapping the air in my body. Don't think. Don't think. Don't think. But think I do. Oh, I do. Professor Riley's all I can think about. And that very embarrassing scene I cause. Why do I have to be such a spaz? I cringe hard, and tears fill my eyes. What is happening to me? I'd never felt emotions like this before. Emotions that are so strong that I hardly know what to do with myself. I've had my fair share of hormones. 𝐿𝐻𝐸𝐬𝐩𝐿 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐸𝐬𝐙𝐸𝐻𝐸𝐬𝐙𝐸. I'm a teenage girl for goodness sake. But having so many emotions at the mere thought of someone I don't even know is bizarre. And just plain weird. I can't explain it. His eyes still haunt me. Dark and brooding, but not quite right. As if the brown color doesn't quite fit his face. And then there's his face. Arch, yes, not handsome in the normal style, but like a mountain man or a ferocious warrior you read about in fairy tales. But this is no fairy tale. There's no such thing. My daddy is enough to remind me of that. The tears are flowing freely already, so I don't mind thinking about him. I typically cry when I think of the jet that left my mom and I behind for another woman. It just doesn't make sense. Nothing does. That's why I need to stay far away from men. I don't need no man. I am a strong, independent woman. Men just break your heart. But still though, I have a crush on my professor. It's hard to admit. Hard to fathom. Here I am, minding my own business when bam. A beautiful person falls into my lap. A beautiful person I didn't even ask for. Oh, but his jaw covered in dark stubble. I would love to run my hand across it while we kiss. I shake my head, trying my hardest to dislodge the ignorant idea. I'm sure every other girl in the class thought the same thing when they saw him. And most of them are way prettier than me. I'm sure 𝐿𝐻𝐸𝐬𝐩 much rather kiss one of them instead of me. He probably won't look twice at messy hair. Daddy issues Hendrix. I wonder if Professor Riley gets tired of young girls ogling him. If 𝐿𝐻𝐸𝐬𝐩 is a professor, I'm sure he gets it all the time. He is outrageously handsome. No one should be that handsome. Man, I'm falling hard. Suddenly, an idea pops into my head and before I know it, I'm reaching over and digging through the drawer of my nightstand until I find it. A picture frame. Not a very big picture frame, but it's important nevertheless. And it is a picture of the man who I despise and love all at the same time. I glare down at the picture of my daddy, wishing more than anything I could see him again. I don't really know what I would do if I saw him. I would cry, that's for sure. But would I curse in his face or beg him to come back? I'm not sure. Even as I brush my fingertips over his face through the glass, I'd like to think I would be angry, but my dreams say something else. Every time I dream of him, I want to hug him and ask him why. Why would you leave me and Mama? How could you? Don't you love us? I still remember the day my mama told me he left us. I asked her a very similar question. I asked her if my daddy stopped loving us, and she said that he found something he loved a little more. Tears blur my vision and drop down on the picture with a splatter. That will never be me. Not again. My young mate Cedric POV, everything is blurry. My eyes are like a camera that caught first. My brain able to process anything around me. My mate. I found my mate. Well, I saw her. She saw me. She ran out to the classroom before the lecture really even started. In that moment that our eyes met, I wasn't sure what exactly was happening. It didn't process. I couldn't think or move. I couldn't believe that she's my mate. 𝐿𝐻𝐸𝐬𝐩 𝐊𝐸𝐬𝐻𝐸𝐸𝐻𝐸𝐬𝐻. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I still can't believe it. The little thing is human. Up until this point in my life, I had thought that impossible. No shifter has given a human as a mate. It's not right. Not natural. Not possible. Apparently it is possible, and I'm the first bastard to experience it. By the time the class is over, I'm leaning against my desk for support. I barely got through class. My eyes are closed. My jaw clenched so hard my head begins to throb in pain. This can't be happening. A human. My mate is human. I take deep, long breaths, trying to focus on that and only that. The students are all gone. They left in a hurry only moments ago. To my 𝐿𝐸𝐷𝐞𝐬𝐈𝐸 𝐊𝐢𝐬𝐷𝐞𝐝, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Time doesn't really make sense right now. They felt my stress, my tenseness. Like a herd of gazelles, they skidded away to protect themselves from the irritated lion. Even though I'm shocked she's human, I can't get her face out of my head. She was a shock of beauty in a sea of mundane faces. Her big doe eyes were wide and innocent, her nose doused in freckles, and not to mention that tousled head of wavy curls. I can't get the image out of my head. Just like the moon goddess wanted. And then there's the fact that I want to chase her down and grab her. That would go over well. I don't know what to think. How feel? I should feel disgusted or horrified. Instead, I'm edged and confused. I've waited centuries to find her. I didn't expect this to happen when I did. I can't exactly describe what I envisioned, but I thought at least my mate would know what I am. My guess is that she has no clue that I'm a lichen, let alone what a lichen is in the first place. Then there's the fact that I'm royalty, but I hate even thinking about that. I hate remembering the way she fled the classroom with her pretty face hidden, the scent of tears wafting around me. I can't forget that smell, not of her crying, but of her in general. It had been a mouth-watering scent that I never wanted to stop inhaling. In amazement, I realized there was no fear mixed with her scent. My eyes widened. She saw me, stared at me. Must be felt the mate bond as I did. But she was not afraid of me. It must be some sort of miracle. Maybe a fluke. Everyone on this planet is afraid of me. The idea that my mate is the only person who's not afraid of me more than it should. But why would she run? Why was she crying? It doesn't make any sense. Humans have always been simple in my mind. The things they do don't exactly make sense to me, but they're easy enough to understand. This whole situation with my mate is a conundrum, especially because I can already tell I have no self-control with her. When she left, I wanted to chase her. I didn't even care about the class, or who would raise an eyebrow. At least at first. I will speak to her. I will find her. She's mine. I will not be without her. But I can't let others know. It would arouse suspicion. Stir gossip. I've already invested so much in this mission only for it to be blown. All in all, it was mostly because I was too shocked to really do anything in that fleeting moment. It's not every day you find out your whole future is in the hands of a tiny girl. That's what she is. To my 𝐿𝐸𝐷𝐞𝐬𝐈𝐸 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐵 heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. She looked so young, too young, and yet, somehow, the moon goddess decided that she's my perfect match in every way. If anything, I would think that the human was made for me specifically. Everything about her calls to me, as a mate should. She's human. That reminder sticks out like a sore thumb. I don't know where to find her. I could hunt her down. It wouldn't be a hard thing to do. I know how to find someone when I want to. And that scent, goddess, that scent will be a beacon in the dull human world. I'm still in a bit of a daze as I make my way through the campus grounds. Instead of paying attention to the countless faces around me, I think only of her. What's her name? Where did she come from? Why did she find me now? If it had been a month ago, hell, even 2 weeks ago, it would have been much easier to make her mine. There wouldn't be any issues or complications. But unfortunately, our relationship has to start at the beginning of an undercover mission. Why is everything so inconvenient? It seems to be the story of my life. I get on my bike and head back to the apartment in a cloud of fuzziness. Not even the rumbling of my motorcycle is enough to get me out of the abyss that my mate dragged me into. Nothing really appears important while I cruise down the long, winding roads of the countryside. Except for that beautiful face I can't forget. I will find her. I need her. When I arrive at the front of the apartment building, I'm still dazed. My ears are ringing. I realize I can't smell anything. Can't concentrate on anything. It's all a big blur around me. There's no sense. No time. I've become a useless shell as I can only think of her. Where's she? Where did she go? I pass the same human male in the hallway that I did the other day. I don't look his way as he scurries back into his apartment for cover. When in behind the safety of my own, or 𝐿𝐸𝐳, the tight heat in my body is relentless. Persistent. I can't relax. I can't breathe. My own body is working against me and trapping me in its confines. What is happening to me? Unable to take it any longer, I shout out a roar as I grab the coffee table and lift it in the air, snapping it in half. Kind of like my self-control. I throw the wood on the ground, already looking around for something else to destroy. It ended up being a lamp. That too is in pieces on the floor before I can blink. A heavy red color overtakes everything in sight. I tear up some pillows, through books, smash shelves. It doesn't seem like enough. There has to be more. There has to be more that I can destroy. I glance around, quickly trying to zone in on something else. My rage needs to be sated. One thing I've always had is control, and now it's gone in the blink of an eye. I'm enchained. I'm caged. My perfect balance is ruined. I've been pushed off the tightrope and am falling hard. Whoa. Whoa. 𝐊𝐸𝐳𝐸 𝐑𝐞𝐝𝐬, heartfelt thanks for your unfading patience, enthusiasm. Calm the hell down. 𝐊𝐸𝐳𝐸𝐸, heartfelt thanks for your unfading patience, enthusiasm. The voice is familiar. Too familiar and a bit annoying at the moment. I turn to glare at the culprit, and I snarl when Savannah takes a step towards me. Her dark eyes widen at my half-shifted state. It's not often I'm stuck between man and lichen, and she knows it. My beta opens her mouth and then closes it, watching me intently before taking a breath and speaking. You found her, didn't you? My rumbling throat stops. The wrecked apartment is silent as we stare at each other. Her words have somehow shocked me out of my fit of rage. How did she know? Is it that obvious? As I slowly transform to my two-legged persona, I nod my head and take a step backwards. It's dawning on me quite quickly what exactly I did to my home. So much for staying under the radar. How? I ask once I've somewhat collected myself a bit. One of her dark eyebrows lifts while she takes in the mess I've made. How did I know you found your mate? Savannah asks reluctantly, not making eye contact. Something's up. Savannah never avoids eye contact. Yes, I reply harshly. Her head snaps up and a guilty look crosses her face. Her thin cheeks actually darken with a blush. I miss her. She works at the diner down the road. She takes a deep, shudder-wide breath. I had the immediate sense that she was my Luna. I thought it must have been some kind of fluke. She's human. Yes, I know that. Thank you very much. I snap, putting as much venom as I can into it. Savannah's mouth literally drops open. She's used to my control. A blank slate of emotions is turmoil. Well, here I am, a moody son of a bitch. My mate true in any patience and restraint I've gained in the last 0 years. I can't believe it. This can't be happening, Savannah says, sounding dazed as she collapses onto the couch. One of the only things in the living room that survived my earlier rampage. I don't say anything even I agree wholeheartedly. That's what I've been thinking for the past hour. Or minutes. Time is weird when I feel like my life has suddenly begun. Standing still. I take a deep inhale of oxygen while I mull things over. Savannah knows where I can find her. She met her. This is a problem. I mean, you hate humans. What was the moon goddess thinking? My beta asks, waving a hand in the air as she stares at the wall with a shake of her head. It's not fair that you're stuck with her. Shut you down now, I say in a deathly cold tone. Savannah has no idea the anger that stirred inside me the moment those words left her mouth. It surprises even me the amount of pure fury coursing through my veins. It's like the very gates of hell have been opened up. What's happening to me? My beta just stares at me. So many emotions fly across her face that I can't distinguish one from another. She seems almost sad. "You're going to accept her?" she asks in an even, measured tone. Her body is still as a stone. What kind of a question is that? Is she crazy? Deranged? Of course I'm going to accept her, I say, incredulously, as if my mate being a human would in any way deter me from accepting her. She's mine. She was made for me, and I for her. The pull is strong. The bond is forming. I can't turn my back on her. I'll never turn my back on her. But Hendrix is 18 years old. Hendrix. My mate's name is Hendrix. It's strange. Completely off the wall. And yet it sweets her. I can't stop thinking about her curly hair. Would it be as soft as it looked? I know you stopped dating when you were 30 for her. But still, people seeing you with her, they'll think you're babysitting. I hate Savannah's reasoning. It's as if she's trying to convince me to give up a happy life with my mate. Of course Hendrix being human will put a few kinks in the road. But it will all work out for the better. It has to. Because if it doesn't, I don't know what it'll do with myself. 10 rain or shine. Hendrix POV. I hum quietly to the music as I'm on a tile floor. This music is a good distraction. As soon as I came into work, I knew throwing myself into it would be the best way to forget all about Mr. Enthusiasm, Professor. Not to mention him getting paid 8 an hour. That helps too, I guess. The oldies music echoes melodically through the nearly empty restaurant. I'm tired, and yet I keep on mopping away under the flickering fluorescent lights. At this point it's just me, Ronnie, and Nancy working once again. Not a lot of people wander into the diner at 100 am. I tend to stay away from Ronnie this time of the night. He gets real grumpy when he has to stay up late. So, instead, I just mind my own business doing the cleaning and serving. Though there's not a lot of folks to be serving. Even through working into the wee hours of the morning makes me tired. It allows me to have some much needed alone time. Just me and my thoughts. It's rare that I ever have time like this. Stacy and Amanda are always begging for my attention. And waiting on people hand and foot to earn my way through school also wears on my nerves. I may be working, but I'm also relaxing. That is until the bell at the door rings. Grumbling to myself. I'm not surprised to hear Nancy flirting her heart out on the other side of the restaurant. Any guy that's at least normal looking could win her heart. It's not a hard thing to do. I smile to myself knowingly. Poor guy. Coming around the corner with my mop and bucket. I reach for my notepad quickly as I glance up to see our first customer of the morning. I stop dead in my tracks when I see Professor Riley standing at the front with his hands in the pockets of a dark leather jacket. It's a contrast to how he was dressed yesterday in class. The dark clothing suits him a lot better than a dress shirt and slacks. His dangerous eyes flick to mine and they change for a moment. His gaze doesn't stray from my face. And I'm glad. If he looked me up and down I would feel self-conscious. Dang. I concede him. I say to my co-worker who is still trying to catch my professor's attention and failing miserably. She pushes her over-teased hair over her shoulder and shoots me an exasperated sound from her throat. You two know each other. And I nod my head absently. I'm still staring at him because I can't stop. He walks towards me, and the closer he gets, the more I realize just how tall he really is. He has to be over 6 feet tall, and more than a foot taller than me. My head barely hits the middle of his chest. Being near Professor Riley makes me feel so small and insignificant. 𝐿𝐤 is the tallest person I've ever seen in real life. I would guess 𝐿𝐤 is about 6'9" nor 610, with the low ceilings lingering above his proud head. It makes him appear even bigger. I turn around and close my eyes for a second. Follow me. It's all I can get out because my throat is clogged up. My heart is beating a mile a minute in excitement. It's a good thing he can't hear that. The organ in my chest thumps way too hard to pump the blood through my body. I show him to an empty booth near the jukebox. "I'll go grab you a menu," I say suddenly after realizing I forget to get one in my haste to steer him away from Nancy and her sharp, red-painted claws. I don't even glance at him when I shuffle away, walking back the way I came. I try to slow down, but it's hard to do. I end up doing an awkward little half-jog, half-fast walk. I don't look at Nancy when I snatch a menu from the stack and a roll of silverware. When I'm back at the table, Professor Riley is already sitting. His wide-set shoulders draw my attention. I'm a bit flustered when I look into his eyes. Now that HE's sitting eye to eye, I wasn't expecting that. "Can I have the menu, please?" his deep voice asks, each word colored with amusement. My face grows bright red as I place the menu in front of him. "What would you like to drink today, sir?" I question, tapping my pen against my notepad nervously. He continues to watch me. "Water would be fine," he tells me. I scribble on the empty page even though I don't remember anything that he says. "You have an accent. Where are you from?" I gulp. "Here we go. Mississippi." Everyone assumes an idiot because of the way I talk, and immediately regret it. Why would I say that? What does that have to do with anything? Stupid. 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 "I think it's cute," he replies. And when I look back up at him, he has a bit of a grin on his face, and it's enough to make me melt. That's the first time I've seen him smile. I notice he has a bit of an accent as well, barely even noticeable, and I can't place it. But I don't ask about it. "Thank you." Because manners come first. "You're in my class. I never caught your name." He remembers me. Hopefully that's a good thing. That's because I never said it. Hendrix. I counter with a shy smile. But deep down I'm worried. I know it comes when I tell someone my name. Anxiety spikes when I meet someone for that one reason. He takes a deep breath through his nose and cocks his head to the side. Professor Riley doesn't ask about my freak name. He just puts out his hand for me to shake. And I do. Maybe a little too eagerly. When his long, strong fingers swallow up my hand, I feel a current of fuzziness crawl up my arm. It's the first time we've touched, and I don't want it to end. I tell myself that he doesn't want it to end either because he holds on for a long time. Cheers just staring at our hands in wonder. I pull away quickly. He probably can't believe I shook his hand for so long. I mean, I didn't really shake it. I mostly just held it. Dang it. I hope I didn't squeeze his hand hard. "Nice to meet you, Professor Riley," I tell him, trying to step away while my face burns with sheer embarrassment. Can I get through one day without awkward human interaction? No, I don't think so. Something stops me, and I turn to realize that HE's grabbed the strings of my apron with his fingers. His expression is one of desperation, but his voice is gruff and demanding. "Call me Cedric." My eyes widen. "Cedric?" I ask quietly. He nods profusely, tendrils of black hair falling out of place. His hair is messy, unkempt. 𝐿𝐢𝐳𝐸𝐷𝐞𝐝 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐸𝐷𝐞𝐝 Heartfelt thanks for your unfading 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐸𝐷𝐞𝐝. I blanch. 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐸𝐷𝐞𝐝 Heartfelt thanks for your unfading 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐸𝐷𝐞𝐝. Really, Hendrix? Well, you'll have your water out in a minute. Cedric. 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐸𝐷𝐞𝐝 Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐸𝐷𝐞𝐝. Is it all right if I order now? Even though it's a question, it's filled with authority. 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐸𝐷𝐞𝐝 Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐸𝐷𝐞𝐝. I gulp. How does one do that? 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐸𝐷𝐞𝐝 Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐸𝐷𝐞𝐝. What'll it be? Cedric suddenly lets go of my apron strings and quickly scans the menu as fast as he can. "I'll just have a burger. Everything on it, please." I smile and nod, not sure what to say. It's like I'm starstruck at the near sight of him. Cedric's eyebrows scrunched together in concentration. It's almost like 𝐻𝐸's trying to read my mind. Better get out of here before he succeeds. I scampered to the back to catch my breath, putting in Cedric's order quickly. I need some time to gather my thoughts and put myself at ease. I somehow thought it would help. But now that I'm back here, all I want is to be near him again. See him. Hear him. Look at his perfect face. 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐳𝐸𝐬𝐑𝐞𝐝 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐸𝐬𝐷𝐐𝐿𝐬. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. That's kind of weird. But then again, what about this situation isn't weird? I saw him in class and freaked out because of the things I was feeling. I ran home and cried as I swore off men completely. Then he walks into the diner and all I want to do is be with him. I've known him less than 10 minutes and in acting like a lovesick puppy, scratching the side of my head as I pace back and forth. I remember my earlier thought when I first spotted him at the front of the room less than a day ago. Love at first sight. Maybe this is what people spoke about when it came to falling in love too quickly. They say it's like you're under a spell. Maybe that explains it. I stop pacing and curse myself. There's no such things as soulmates. They're not real, not possible. We choose who we end up with. There's no fate or divine intervention involved in love. But what if there is? Order up. Bonnie shouts. I jump so high I nearly hit the sea. For once I hate how quick our cookies at whipping up a burger. Still startled. Heart hammering. I grab the plate of food and the water before venturing back into the restaurant after taking a deep breath. 𝐿𝐲's right where I left him, sitting patiently in the booth for me to return. I don't know what I expected. This whole thing feels like some sort of bizarre dream. I wouldn't be surprised if I came back and he was gone. Smells great, he says as I put the plate down in front of him. I smile and hand him his water. 𝐿𝐲's all masculinity and regalness despite his rough biker appearance. His voice is like melted butter. Is there anything else I can get for you today? Working on autopilot when I feel the awkwardness start to creep in on me. Cedric just looks up at me and nods. I want you to sit with me, he tells me slowly. A surge of panic and excitement sparks inside me and I almost squeal. He must really like me then. This isn't my imagination. I can't believe this is happening. But I have to work. My professor looks around the restaurant to make his point clear. Doesn't seem like you're too busy to me, Cedric says. He makes a good point there. No one ever comes in at this time. 𝐿𝐲's the only one here. And I have nothing else to do. I have no reason to tell him no, especially when I want to shout the word yes at the top of my lungs. I slide into the bench across from him while he takes the first bite of his burger. Somehow he makes seating look graceful. Everything about him draws me in, catches my attention against my will. 𝐿𝐲's large and intimidating. And yet, when I'm around him I don't feel scared. In fact, I feel the exact opposite. In calm, it's as if all my problems are gone where he steps into my view. I can't explain it. There are no explanations when it comes to Cedric 𝐊𝐲. How often do you work here? He asks, and I straighten in my seat. I've been caught staring at his dark, stubble-covered jaw again. That's embarrassing. 6 days a week, for 130 to 200 am. It's pretty hectic during super time, but after that it slows down. I explain, coming a bit at the opportunity to talk about something normal. It grounds me enough to keep talking. You're a real professor. Where are you from? The handsome stranger across from me wipes at his napkin. His eyes scan me, as if 𝐿𝐲 is contemplating what to say next. I'm from Ireland, but I live in Montana, he replies, but he seems anxious to change the subject from himself. I don't let him. How long have you been living in America? And he shrugs his shoulders, blowing out a long breath. A while, he says absently. What's your major? He spits out a question I've heard many times. Music. His eyes widen. What do you want to do? Cedric asks. I blew out a breath, scratching the back of my neck. I'll do anything that involves music. 𝐊𝐸𝐳𝐸𝐬𝐷𝐐𝐸 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐸𝐬𝐷𝐐𝐸. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Music journalism. Producing. Recording. I don't care. I just love music. He observes me again, but he never really stopped in the first place. It's like I'm some sort of fantastic art display in a museum that he can't get past. I've never had someone stare at me like that. It should be unsettling. I mean, I don't even know him, but I actually enjoy it. Probably more than I should. We talk for a while. 𝐿𝐸𝐺 finished his food, and he asks all the questions, which means I'm the one doing all the talking. It's almost like an interrogation or an interview. The more I talk, the more at ease I am. I'm not even at work anymore. Not really. Cedric's presence has transported me to another dimension. Time flies, and before I know it, it's time to close up the diner, and I'm still in deep conversation with my professor. I can't stop. I can't stop talking. Can't smiling. Can't staring. 𝐿𝐸𝐺 is impossibly handsome despite his scars and his terrifying aura. Everything about him is dark. And yet, I'm drawn to him like a moth to a flame. Who knows? Maybe I'm more like a moth than I think. I could be mindlessly flying towards fire without knowing how badly burned I'll be. When everything's cleaned up, Cedric follows me to the back to lock up. I silently do my job, trying hard to concentrate on the task with the man behind me waiting patiently. The keys jingle in my shaky fingers. It's hard to do anything with him around. All I want to do is grab him and plant a big kiss on his lips. Did I really just think that? When I turn around, Cedric has his hands in the pockets of his leather jacket or jean. It makes a crinkling sound as it stretches against his shoulders when he takes a deep breath through his nose. We stand there facing each other for a while in silence. I'm the first one to speak. So I guess I'll see you next class, I say with a smile. His eyes widen a little bit before narrowing on me again. I fidget with my bag and silently wish he would say something. Anything. After a time he says one thing. Get home safe. 𝐿𝐸𝐺𝐸𝐬𝐸𝐬𝐸𝐬𝐸𝐬𝐸𝐬𝐸𝐬𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐀. His gentle words warn me and I nod. A little promise to Cedric that he'll do what 𝐿𝐸𝐺𝐸 asked. I watch in utter amazement as a slow smile lifts his lips. A gasp pressures from my lungs at the sight of the beautiful expression. It's the second time I've been blessed to see him smile. And I love his face even more with it on. 11-freckled girl Cedric POV. My childhood was short-lived. There are few moments I still remember from my adolescent years, but I do recall the sheer giddiness. 𝐿𝐸𝐺𝐸𝐬𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝑀. Unabashed, childlike excitement of life. It's something I haven't felt in a long time. 𝐿𝐸𝐺𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐻𝐻. For years Ivy forgotten the feeling. It was lost to me, and I couldn't even recollect what it was like to be excited. I feel it now. It's all I've known since Hendrix came along. Just all I think about now. All I want. All I crave. The things I used to strive for seem unimportant compared to my tiny Luna. The worries of pretending to be a human professor have left me. The stresses over leaving my pack behind have completely vanished. She's all that matters. I'm anxious to speak to her, and to even be in the same vicinity as her. I've seen her plenty of times. After all, I won't allow my mate to ride her bike home at 𝐿 in the dark. I don't trust the human world, or the supernatural one, when it comes to her. I'm not taking any chances. Watching her from the sidelines for a few minutes on her way home from work isn't enough. The countless college classes go by too slow. Slower than before now that I know she's out there. Hendrix is in my Tuesday and Thursday classes. A measly 2 classes a week among the countless other ones I suffer through on a daily basis. The few days it took before she finally walked into my lecture room on Thursday were tough to get through. But as soon as I saw her, I knew it was beyond worth it. Every hour of torture is worth seeing her for even a second of time. When she walks in, backpacks slung over her shoulders, her dark eyes fly towards the front of the room where they settle on me. A warm blush floods her face and my breath catches in my throat at the sight of it. Everything about her is too much. The other humans shuffle in as well. But I hardly notice them. They're like pesky gnats that won't fly away. My gaze remains fixed on the only human that matters. Class goes by quickly now that Hendrix is here. I mindlessly go through a lecture I've taught too many times already. I try to remain focused on what I'm saying, and from the outside I probably seem focused. But I'm far from it. I can pick a fragrance out among all the various smells, and I hold on to it through the hour-and-a-half block. The smell of her and the occasional glance at her keep me sane. I give out an assignment, and the young students hold back their groans of frustration. Little do they know the purpose behind it has little to do with their education. My idea has me smiling as I stare up at my mate. And then there's that. Smiling. Another thing I haven't done in the past couple of 100 years. The tragedy that struck my family as a child rendered me smile less, and left me with horrendous scars that strike fear into the hearts of those around me. People see me and cringe. Everyone except one little human girl. And still not used to the facial muscles moving that way. After going years without using them, I'm surprised they still work. My cheeks are a bit tight and stiff even after all the smiling I've been doing. It's if Hendrix unfroze my face and Shess the only one who makes it work the way it's supposed to. Maybe that's the reason Shess not afraid of me. Shess the only one who gets to see me smile. Or maybe it's the mate bond. It clearly works on her as much as it works on me. But not nearly as much. She probably has no idea why she's so drawn to me. It's got to be confusing for a human to have a mate and not even know what a mate is in the first place. It's hard to fathom not knowing the eternal existence of soul mates. But I suppose all humans are completely oblivious to the phenomenons of the supernatural world. Not to mention, humans aren't supposed to have mates. This whole situation is a fluke, but I can't say I'm mad about it. When the class finishes, the students gather their things to leave and I stand by silently. I watch in restrained fury as a human boy makes his way down the aisle towards my mate with leering eyes. The blood in my veins boils watching him smile down at her. Speak to her. He asks her if he can carry her books, and I hold my breath. Thankfully, she declines. I try hard to resist smiling. All this time it's been impossible for me to smile. And now it's hard to stop at times like these. The boy leaves right along with everyone else. Hendrix slowly makes her way down the stairs while I pretend to be busy at my desk with papers. Except that I'm really just waiting for her to come to me. She shyly walks towards my desk. A sweet expression on her perfect face as she gets closer and closer. She wears a light lilac-colored dress that flows around her calves. Her sense of style is another thing that I've begun to appreciate about her. I can hear her heart thumping, her lungs expanding, her eyelashes fluttering. The smell of her is alluring and intense. I take a deep breath and savor it. The sensation is close to being intoxicated. Hey, Professor I mean, Cedric. She fumbles over her words nervously, a pretty blush tinting her cheeks. I smile at her. Again. Hello, Hendrix. Trying to sound normal. I don't want to sound as eager as I truly am. Who was that you were talking to? I add in nonchalantly, gesturing with my chin to the door where the boy left only moments ago. She fiddles with her backpack strap before opening her mouth. Oh, that's just Dylan. 𝐊𝐢𝐳 in my band. 𝐖𝐨𝐥𝐼 one of the guitarists. We don't know each other very well. We're more acquaintances than anything else. Hendrix explains, and I can't feel a little triumphant at the way she plays it off, assuring me that he means nothing, so there isn't anything between them after all. I'm relieved. I wouldn't want to scare any boyfriends away from what's mine. Not that it would be hard to do. So, a paper on our favorite historical book that has impacted literature today. She asks about the assignment dubiously, a lilt of teasing to her darling southern voice. Damn, she's adorable. Yes, think you can handle it? I ask her, leaning back in my swiveling deck chair to study her, with my arms folded over my chest. She cocks her head to the side with a sly grin. You know, I really haven't read much in my time. especially not any classics or old-time Y stuff. Books really aren't my thing, Hendrix explains, trailing off at the end, and I can already see where this is going. I adore her mind, because this is exactly what I was hoping would happen. It was my plan all along. Little does she know she's fallen right into my trap. Well, I do have some free time in the afternoons if you would like some help, I reply, and when her eyes light up like the stars I know she's just as excited as I am about this. That would be great actually. Hendrix agrees a little too eagerly, but I can't look away from her freckle-splattered nose to her. Our back and forth ends for a while, fizzling out into an awkward silence. I don't mind the quiet because she's still standing there in front of me. It's hard to fathom the fact that she's been in my life less than a week and already I can't picture my life without her in it. The simple task of breathing is harder when she's not around. When Hendrix is in the same room as me, everything seems right with the world for once in my life. What time would be good for you? I ask her. She doesn't reply. She's too busy staring at me. And the more she does, the more this desk between us seems to be too much space. With her brown eyes on me, I wonder if I'm as attractive to her as she is to me. I know I'm not exactly the most handsome guy with the mess on the left side of my face and the eerie red tint of my eyes, but I hope she finds me at least decent looking. It's the first time I've really thought about my appearance. My words still haven't registered, so I clear my throat to get her attention, and I try not to sound amused, because I am way too amused for my own good. Goddess, I've missed being amused. Hendrix snaps out of it, like a bucket of cold water has been poured over her pretty head. She stammers, clearly embarrassed. I chuckle, actually chuckle. That's new too. My mate raises her eyebrows in confusion at my one-worded question. What time? Tutoring. The paper. I clarify. Her face dawns an understanding and her face flushes. That's the third time today, and I can't get enough of it. Oh, any time before I start work would be good. I start at 4:30, so we'll need to do it some time before then so I can have time to ride my bike there and UHM. Does 3 work? I interrupt her rambling, as cute as is to watch her struggle to find words. I hate to watch the horror in her gaze as she rants. My human nods her head profusely rather than answering with the syllables that have been failing her. I could watch her all day. I want to memorize every tiny thing about her, every tick, every sound, every single minor detail that makes up Hendrix. I have a feeling that might take a while, but I'll wait as long as it takes. 𝐿𝐸 flustered. She pushes a stray curl out of her face in frustration. I'm not usually like this, I assure you. Her insistent tone is nearly my undoing. Who knew such a helpless creature could hold so much authority? She was born to be a Luna after all, and the queen over all shifter kind. But she's mortal. Who would have guessed? Not me. And it's obvious enough. Not that she'll be mortal much longer. As soon as my mark is placed on her neck, she'll live as long as I do. And I'm counting on it. It's just a matter of time. And she'll be all mine. Permanently. And she has absolutely no clue. Well, I'll see you later then, I guess, she says in an unsure voice, edging away from where she stands, slowly backing up towards the door. I can tell Hendrix doesn't want to leave. Doesn't feel right about it. She wants to stay. I know this because I feel much the same. I should, get home. My friends get worried easily, and I don't want to scare them, she mumbles, and I nod silently. I want to open my mouth and say something. Anything at all. But I don't trust myself. If I let myself talk, he'll probably end up trying to convince her to stay. And it's not a good idea. Discipline has been my anchor for years. I'd had lots of practice, but meeting my human has sent it all down the drain. Somehow I need to get back under control. This is something I cannot afford to mess up. My relationship with Hendrix needs to be treated like glass, with care and caution. When she smiles at me and exits the classroom, my heart sinks and I sigh as I try to assure myself that slow and steady wins the race. This is a slow process. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilban, heartfelt thanks for your unfading 𝐊𝐤𝐧𝐠 enthusiasm. You cut crush perfection,